Hello, good evening. We're going to call the City Council meeting to order on Monday, September 8th at 6 p.m. For the record, all council members and the vice mayor are present. And do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, do we have any public comments on closed session items?
Mayor Candell, we have no persons in the community hall, and we have no persons online with wanting to speak.
Great. All right, so we will go out for closed session and we'll resume the meeting at 7 o'clock.
We're live. See. Let me know when we're live recording.
All right, it's now 7 o'clock. We're back from closed session with no reportable action. And the next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And since it's the first meeting of the month, we announced our land acknowledgement statement. So here we go. We acknowledge that Lafayette is part of the unceded ancestral homeland of the Bay Miwok people. The Bay Miwok and neighboring Ohlone people have lived and moved through this place for thousands of years. They stewarded it and shaped this land for hundreds of generations. We express our appreciation and gratitude for this profound legacy, which enhances and contributes to our lives to this day. We will strive to honor this land and strengthen our ties with the Indigenous communities that continue to live and work in our East Bay region as our neighbors and community members. We acknowledge and honor them, their ancestors, elders, and next 7 generations. All right, next item is public comment for items not on the agenda tonight.
Mayor Kandel, we have a speaker in the Don Tatson Community Hall. I'll call Dave Dondero to the podium. And if any other persons in the hall would like to speak, please fill out a yellow speaker slip. Thank you.
Howdy, I'm Dave Dondero, live here in Lafayette. This is about e-bikes. I've been riding a bike here since I used to ride to Miramani as a kid to go to school. Today I ride with a couple of different groups, road groups, and mountain bike groups, and mixed into these groups are people riding e-bikes, what we call class 1 and class 3 e-bikes. They're pedal assist only. But today I'm here to talk about class 2 e-bikes, which in the state regulations are the ones with throttles. When the state first implemented the classifications, I think they envisioned class 2 as being these kind of regular bikes, slightly heavier, sort of city cruisers, primarily for adults to have big kid racks on or to carry groceries, things like that. And the throttle was there because the bike's heavy and maybe they have a hill to go up or they're carrying a lot of groceries or whatever. But manufacturers have taken advantage of this classifications and they've created bikes that have a completely different purpose, one that appeals to kids. They have 4-inch wheels, they look like motorcycles, they can weigh as much as 90 pounds. And although they're sold as class 2 bikes, which means they should only go to 20 miles an hour, they can easily be hacked to go much faster. I pulled up again next to 2 kids on Iron Horse just yesterday on these bikes. I asked them how fast their bikes went, and of course they were very proud to tell me that both of them had been hacked to go over 30 miles an hour. So now we have a 13-year-old kid whose brain is 10 years away from any sort of appreciation of risk, riding a 90-pound bike at speeds well over 20 miles an hour on our trails, on our sidewalks, on our streets. I clocked a kid on Olympic the other day going 38 miles an hour. Never saw him pedal once. So these are not e-bikes, they're e-motorcycles. And when they hit something, they're going to do it with many tons of force. Around California, people are already dying either on these bikes or being hit by these bikes. So we have a serious gap in the class 2 bike, e-bike designation, one that can't be filled with just education, but requires policy change. So I'm here to ask City Council to consider 2 things. First of all, that we put a stronger emphasis on education through enforcement, take these bikes away. Parents need to understand the danger that throttle e-bikes pose. When you put your kid on an e-bike, you're putting them on a motorcycle. Second, we need to partner with our neighboring towns in a call to action to our state representatives. The state's Class 2 definition needs to be changed. Any e-bike with a throttle should be limited to 16 years of age or older. And throttle bikes that can be modified to go faster than 20 miles an hour should only be sold as an e-motorcycle, which means they require a license, registration, a license plate, motorcycle insurance. Period. That needs to be a fundamental change. E-bikes over a certain weight and tire size, also the ones that are made to look like dirt bikes, should be similarly reclassified. And I'm willing to work with the city on either of these two efforts. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Wait 1 second.
Sure.
Councilmember McCormick.
Yeah, thank you very much for that update and sobering. I think it's something we've all known is an issue, and I think you brought it home very concisely. I have been looking with some interest at Danville and what Danville's been doing around e-bike regulation. I'm curious if you've had a chance to look at them and what you think about what they're doing.
They're not doing much in regulation. They're talking about doing something similar to Marin, which has passed an ordinance that layers on top of Class 2 and changes the age requirement to 16 or older, which to me really kind of circumvents the real problem, which is you've got these big, heavy bikes that are essentially motorcycles that are not being treated as motorcycles. They're still being treated as bicycles. So I think for me, the fundamental solution is what they do in Europe, which is if you sell a throttled bike, it can absolutely, in fact, this is true of pedal assist as well, they can absolutely not be hacked to go over their stated range. And they take that very seriously in a way that we don't here. You can go online or you can go into a store and look at these bikes, and it'll say Class 2 right on the label, and you open up the instruction manual, and right there on page 3, it tells you how to defeat the limiter to make it go as fast as the motor has torque to send it. That's the problem. Yeah.
So thank you. This is, we had a city schools meeting just last week, and Andy Comley, who's our emergency preparedness coordinator, he is putting together e-bike, safety and working with the schools on it because they've been very proactive about that. Maybe we need to bring it to a council meeting to get that word out to our residents. This is actually happening. So we've talked to the schools, but we haven't really gone back to Lafayette residents and say what things are actually happening that we might consider.
Yeah, and you probably know more than I do, but I understand Andy is going to be giving a presentation on Slow Down Lafayette with a focus on e-bikes at the next Trans-Circ Commission meeting.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's true.
So, okay, so the next Trans-Circ meeting sounds like he is going to be presenting to them about e-bike safety. And so that would be a great one for you to come in and listen and make comments.
If I can make it, I will.
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, good. One more.
Yeah, Dave, thank you very much. I've got a question. So from where you were going, is this like a state legislative solution? Is that what it takes to get it done? Or could we do something at the local level that matters? Or is it sort of really, the game is all about what the state regulates?
I'm actually not sure because I don't know what your authority is vis-a-vis the state regulations.
We're local, so.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of layering something on like Marin County did, but that was at the county level, not at a city level. But I think fundamentally the class system that the state has said is broken. I think they were very well intended when they did it, but they didn't realize that they were leaving this gap that the manufacturers just pushed right into. And kids love these things because when I was 14, I'd love to be able to ride a motorcycle and not have to take any training or license it or anything else. So yeah, it's a real problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor Kandel, I have no other speakers for items that aren't on the agenda. I do have speakers for upcoming agenda items.
Great. All right, we'll get on to the city manager's update.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. This is an update from all the departments. From the police department, last week, we worked with Confire's Wildfire Hand Crew 12 to remove brush and low-hanging branches along several evacuation routes in Lafayette. And this included sections of Spring Hill Road, Glenside Drive, and Mountain View Drive. The Public Works crew assisted with traffic control, and this is the second year in a row that we've been doing this in partnership with the fire department. Also from PD, we've had, the chief wanted me to report out on 3 cases. On the 26th, there was a robbery at the Safeway store. The police department identified the license plate. The vehicle was located and the suspect was arrested. On the 27th, a purse was stolen during lunch at the Sideboard restaurant, and the suspects attempted to use the credit cards from that wallet. 2 days later, our police department detained the suspects with help from the Concord Police Department. And then the third case, a senior resident had about $35,000 of unauthorized charges on the credit card. Our police department identified 2 female suspects. One happened to be a caretaker, and warrants were served and both were arrested. That's from the police department. Just wanted to call out that the evacuation, the brush clearing, monies came from the Measure X fund, so it's important to note that the sales tax on the countywide basis is being used in all the cities. The Parks, Trails, and Recreation Commission is continuing to plan for the Hamlin Batwing Parkland. Their next meeting will be 7 p.m. at the Community Center on September the 18th. And the Senior Services Commission worked with the Contra Costa Fire Prevention District and the Police Department to develop a flyer that will promote the Measure X Low-Income Fire Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. So they're reaching out to our seniors, and we will be distributing this information at our Art and Wine Festival at the city's booth. And that's all I have.
Can we get that to the senior symposium as well?
Great idea. Yeah. I shall pass that.
Yes. Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you. All right, next we have presentation, Suzanne Yarla on our CWS system. She's going to be on Zoom, I believe. So, okay, I will present this. So the county recently created a series of short videos about the CWS system alerts and asked cities to share them. The videos encourage folks to sign up for CWS and remind everyone in Contra Costa to be ready, take action, and stay safe during various types of emergencies. Suzanne will play the videos for us tonight, and they will be shared on the city's social media accounts this month. And we hope these videos will educate folks about CWS and encourage everyone to sign up for the alerts. So if we can play those, that would be great. We're not getting sound. Yeah, Suzanne, we aren't getting any sound. Sometimes you have to share the sound separately. Sometimes you do on Zoom.
Thanks, Mayor. Let me try that again.
Sure.
Living in Contra Costa County can be peaceful, but like all places, unexpected emergencies occur and impact our lives. In those times, Contra Costa County's community warning system can provide emergency alerts to help you and your loved ones stay informed and safe. Be ready. Take action. Stay safe. Sign up for community warning system alerts today.
We were eating breakfast when the evacuation alert came through. We grabbed our go bags
and loaded our pets into the car. We were able to evacuate before the fire reached us.
Emergencies can occur at any time. The Contra Costa County Community Warning System can provide emergency alerts to help you stay informed and safe. Be ready, take action, stay safe.
Sign up for Community Warning System alerts today.
We were out walking when we heard the siren and thought it was the monthly test. Then the alert came through. We saw the smoke and knew it was an emergency. It advised us to shelter in place. So we ran into a local business and waited for the updates.
During an emergency, Contra Costa County's Community Warning System can provide emergency alerts to help keep you safe. Be ready, take action, stay safe. Sign up for Community Warning System alerts today.
I was gardening when I saw Emilio walking alone. I knew he was an at-risk individual with dementia from the alert I got earlier that day. I called authorities and told them where to find Emilio.
Emergencies like Emilio's can happen. That's why the Contra Costa County Community Warning System can provide emergency alerts to help you and your loved ones stay informed and safe. Be ready, take action, stay safe. Sign up for Community Warning System alerts today.
Contra Costa County's Community Warning System can provide emergency alerts to help you stay informed and safe. Visit cwsalerts.com, click register, acknowledge, and enter your info to receive emergency alerts. Sign up today. Be ready, take action, stay safe.
Thank you, Suzanne.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any questions? All right, any public comment on this item?
No speakers at this time.
Great, thank you. And yes, everybody sign up for CWS, please. All right, now we'll go to the Creeks Committee annual update. I think that's enough.
Okay. Yes, well, thank you, Mayor Kendall and the council for having us here tonight. We really appreciate your support over the years and your continued support on our projects. So as you can see, this is our full committee right now. We're down 2 members, unfortunately. So Peter Norton and Christine Lee are no longer with us, so we're hoping to find a couple of other people very soon to fill in. In the meantime, Doug Blakely here has joined us, which happened this year, and he's a geologist, and he's been advising us on geologic aspects of our creeks, as well as he's going to talk about helping us try to find some grant funding to further our project work. So what we're going to do is just sort of go around now, and each of us will present a little bit on our areas. I'm really lucky to have such great committee members who are very active, and you will see tonight that we've been able to accomplish quite a bit this year. So we'll start with Mary Jo Cass.
Good evening, council members. Mary Jo Cass. During the past year, the Creeks Committee continued the creek bank restoration along Las Trampas Creek at Lee Creekside Park. Our vision is to embellish native riparian plants in this city-owned property along the creek to make it an inviting place for wildlife such as river otters, wood ducks, and threatened species. We're making steady progress. We were when, to our surprise and delight, our restoration plans really took off. And why did that happen? It happened because several members of La Miranda's Sunrise Rotary Club showed up at our February meeting and offered to help. Well, HELP was music to our ears, and they have since put wind into our sails. And since their participation, we've come a long way in eradicating invasive species of weeds, and we have big plans for planting down the road. I would like to just take a minute to mention some of the players from the Rotary Club who've been awesome in helping us. One is Tom Guyette, who's the webmaster for the Rotary Club, and he's featured our work on the Rotary website and plans to make a video, and he's also created a beautiful sign that has been posted inside the park. So please check out La Miranda Sunrise Rotary, laMirandaSunrise.org for checking out the site. The other one is Mark Lewis from the Rotary. He's an irrigation wizard and is spearheading our work along the creek. Another really talented person is Leander Horry, or Haruri, I might be misspelling his name. He's replacing broken fences at Lee Creekside Park. So far, he's put in 10 new sections. And finally, Paul Bettelheim, who is here tonight, is the maestro who is orchestrating his team of Rotary members. He's a visionary and imagines what can be. So it's exciting working with him. He's reaching out to other organizations to get them involved and committed to this restoration for months and years and generations to come. And he's also raising money and secured a $10,000 grant from the district Rotary to help to finance this work and possibly something along the West Reach, where we have another plan underway. So we are thrilled and very grateful for the support, and we've had 3 volunteer events this past year, and we look forward to collaborating with all of these groups and individuals that come to join us as volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. I'm Ron Huff. I've been on this committee for a number of years now. Taking from Mary Jo's comments and going forward, our goal this coming year at Lee Creekside Park is to do a complete restoration on what we call Zone 3. I think you've probably all been there, and Zone 3 is the northernmost section, the most downstream section of the park. It's about 100 lineal feet on top. Average bank height runs 40 feet or so. It is entirely covered with invasive, mostly berries, some invasive trees. The bank is steep, and at the bottom, it is almost vertical. The plan is to completely remove all of those invasives, maybe with the exception of a few trees. Now and then you make compromises given the tree's location. And then after that, to do a restoration of all that vegetation. And then the third part, at the very bottom, there is this old, essentially failed retaining wall. I think, I'm told Mr. Lee put it in a very long time ago. He had stakes and boards. It's gone. And to replace that and try and do it in the new modern way, the new so-called bioengineering way, with trees, vegetation, logs, hemp, things of that sort, as opposed to the conventional rock and such in concrete that we see. So we hope to do that in a bioengineering fashion. This is going to be different from what we've done thus far because there will be some cost. What we've done thus far had almost no cost because we've done virtually all of the work has been done by labor. The costs have been small. We've had some plants and we've had some plumbing and the like, but they were small numbers. Zone 3 will be different because that bank with those invasive berries is too steep for volunteers. We just can't do them there safely. We have to hire people, and they're available, and that will be a cost. And we have some of these numbers now, but much of this really is still just aspirational, so there's no point, I think, checking numbers around tonight. The second cost will be the planting, which will be, plant cost alone will be, I think, 3 times the last because it's a larger area. And the third cost will be whatever we do, which should be the most interesting part on the bioengineering to fix that bank. And we'll see how that goes. And we have good partners in this. As Mary Jo mentioned, the first one is Lamarinda Sunrise Rotary. They've just been terrific. They furnish most of the volunteers. They'll be with us next year. They will assist us also with financing. There's also the California Urban Streams Partnership. You may have heard of. They're pretty much under the direction of the Resource Conservation District in this county. They're funded through Flood Control District. And they specialize in this sort of stuff. We've already had a couple of them out. They've had a look at the bank. They have some ideas. They will give us some plans and go from there. We'll also probably have the Restoration Trust. And then we get such support from our city maintenance people and public works. I also sit on the Watershed Council, and every time I describe to them the support we get from our city, the members coming from other cities are just envious. They just don't get that. So we'll have that too. So financing, this is going to cost some money, obviously. I think the Rotary is going to do their part to come up with what they can. We believe there may be some funding also through CUSP. Sometimes they do the work, sometimes they add funding, and then also probably we'll see if we can't get some grants to cover this. Our goal is to cover all this in those ways and not have to ask the city for any money, which I know all of you would like. So we'll see how we go on that going forward.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Excuse me, let me move forward just a little bit. Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to come this evening and speak. My name is Doug Blakely. I am the newest member of the committee. I joined last December, and I had actually been working on issues related to the Lee Creek Side Park for several years. So had some familiarity, but it's been quite an education for me to kind of jump into all the issues. The things that Will mentioned that I've kind of worked on this year, the first has been Lee Creekside Park. I came with a relationship with Linda Deschambault, who recently became one of the, I think it's a director for the Lee Creekside, or I'm sorry, for East Bay Parks. And I think as a result, we've been able to develop a somewhat closer communication channel with the Park District. As I think you know, we've got a collapsed bank on the north side of the park that the Parks District came in and did what appears to be a temporary repair last fall. We're still trying to get clarification as to what they intend to do going forward. We hope that there's more to it than what they've done so far, but that remains to be seen. We're also talking to them about the issues with regard to the bridge over at the gazebo and the timing on that and how that relates to some of the things that are going on. A couple other issues directly related to the trail on the north side of the creek. I think there's really some question as to what that's going to look like going forward. They've got the control and the responsibility for it at this point. And it's not clear yet just exactly how that's going to work out. Meanwhile, and moving on to the second part of what I've been working on this year, I come in with a long background working with architect engineers with responsibility for finding funding. And so we've spent a great deal of time over the past few months trying to figure out where best we can find additional grants and funding sources. Mostly what it comes down to is that groups such as the water boards, regional boards, and a couple of the other state departments, state conservation departments and so on, actually have open funds that are funded for grant cycles of 2-3 years with several millions of dollars in them. And that because they are open, they don't have a deadline. And so we're not in a situation where we only have a few weeks to respond, put together a proposal, get the approvals necessary, that we can work over a longer time frame. And in fact, the ones that we're looking at also allow us to submit a proposal concept and then basically have them critique it and then come back with an idea or come back and give us some feel for whether or not we've got a chance. Along the way, I am very interested in developing relationships with the Parks District, with the Rotary clubs and so on as partners. In part because most of them are more experienced than we are in going after funding. And for a whole variety of reasons, generally speaking, you can get bigger grants, not only if you have some experience with the organization, but also simply because you can scale up the project that you're trying to get funding for. And the scale of projects or the types of projects that we're looking at range from the West Reach, various components, individual components, or conceivably, depending upon how the funding comes through, an infusion that might be used to underwrite the entire program. We've looked at the possibility of education funds that we can use to help work with the city, or I'm sorry, with the residents who have creekside properties with regard to the issues and their responsibilities. And even to the point of looking at funds that would be specifically for use in cleaning up some of the creeks or potentially dealing with some of the bank issues that certainly exist. So we're in the beginning stages of all of this. We have a ways to go, but I'm hopeful that we can report some positive progress by next fall. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So yeah, I'm Will Elder. I'm the chair of the Creeks Committee, which I omitted to say before. Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the West Reach project, which I would assume you're aware of, but it runs from Town Center to Sotheby's at the west end on Mount Diablo Boulevard. And we did get a $900,000 grant from Representative DeSalier's office. As far as we can tell, that money is still available. We have had city staff working on the paperwork to make sure that we can get hold of that money when we're ready to start moving on the project. At present, Tim Clark, who unfortunately just left the city, but he has designed a conceptual design developed for the project, and his estimates came in very close to the $900,000 to accomplish what all we want to do. Of course, things always get more expensive, so we do want to see if we can shore it up with some grant money too, additional grant money, but this is good matching funds that we have now. So yeah, Tim did a great job. I'll put in a plug for him. We really appreciate the work that he did for us while he was here, and we're looking forward to working with our next staff person. So that project, we have the plan. I didn't bring it here tonight, but it involves creating sort of a winding path, gravel path adjacent to a widened path that is currently along Mount Diablo Boulevard there. And it also has bioretention, taking the water off of Mount Diablo Boulevard and helping meet some of the city's goals for clean water. Through that, it will have a bike path adjacent to the bioretention area, but it will require removing a number of the parking places that are along there. So one of our next things to do there is to go through the Circulation Commission and start working on how that can look and how we may be able to replace some of that parking in other places locally. Let's see, what else? And there will be some small overlooks and things, as well as a repair. We do have a collapsed bank area in the middle of it that will be repaired. So all of that is within the conceptual design. What we hope to do now is to move forward with hiring a design firm to bring the design up to the point where we can hire a contractor and start work on the project, hopefully within the next year. So that's where we're wanting to go with that. One other small thing I want to mention is that the committee has been asked to inspect several properties this year to see that they have met permit requirements. These are properties along streams, and to look at the removal of invasive plants in those areas and trash in the streams and such. So we really appreciate that the city is putting these stipulations into these permits, and that the creeks are getting the attention that they should get to keep them clean and good habitat for our wildlife. So, David.
I'm Dave Clark. And one of the other things that we've tried to do is stay in touch with various city organizations, including the council, about things that we're working on and are interested in, and also try to provide information, not just about what we want, but what we can provide. So we did that last year. We've been doing it for quite a while. And last year specifically, we worked with the city staff to get changes incorporated into the Lafayette tree protection ordinance that were creek related, and that worked out well. We also had some input with respect to various trail easements, trying to make sure that people are aware of what those are, what the stage they might be, and that they don't get forgotten is part of that. And it's not funny. I'm not trying to be facetious, but some of those opportunities that we thought were settled and were taken care of they're coming back. Madison Park's a good example. That project didn't go forward, so the easements that we had thought we'd successfully nailed down there they aren't. So anyway, we got to pay attention to things like that, things that we thought were finished but are not. So in the future, we plan to continue to do that, to monitor city meetings, which includes the Park Trails and Rec Commission and various subcommittees there, the Planning Commission, Design Review Commission, GPAC maybe, and City Council, definitely. So we try to attend those meetings and make comments as appropriate. And we're also going to initiate the project work, as Will just said, with respect to the West Reach. One last comment about the West Reach. That project, it is in the Downtown Creeks plan. I mean, that's the origin that's where that comes from. What we're looking at now is not exactly the same as what was in the Downtown Creeks plan, but it's pretty close. But that's the origin of that. So it's kind of exciting that Downtown Creeks plan, which we kind of all looked at as an historic document, is actually parts of it anyway, bit by bit, are coming to fruition. So thank you.
Great. That's it? Thank you, guys. We love our Creeks Commission. You guys are very responsive and super thorough and careful with our creeks, and then everybody else who interfaces with our creeks. And so we can't thank you more. Does anybody have any questions or, yeah?
You have questions or?
Anything, go ahead.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
it's such a pleasure. I have the privilege of being a liaison to the Creeks Commission, and it's just great working with a committee where each member of the committee is very active and takes on responsibility for projects, and that's the secret of getting all these things done. That and support from city staff. So I also want to add my thanks to Tim Clark, who was the city staff for the last 4 years, I believe, to the Creek Committee. And also giving thanks to La Miranda Sunrise Rotary for the support to come in and help a city committee. It's just great to be able to leverage the volunteers within the city. And again, thanks for all you do. I think it's great the way you reach out to other committees and commissions and make sure they're keeping creeks in mind. And, again, creeks are just an incredible asset for Lafayette. There's not every city our size that has as many creeks as we do, and it's just a real asset to the downtown. And exactly, the West Reach project is going to be the entry to downtown. So it's going to have a big impact on the commercial and future residential areas of Lafayette. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's an impressive list of accomplishments, and I have to echo Carl's appreciation for everything you do. And I think a special shout out to Dave Clark, who certainly keeps us all honest here. And I will have amazing number of things that come before us that all of us have a Creek's impact, and we wouldn't even know it except for David's certainly keeping us on our toes. So we appreciate that. I do follow up just a brief question. You mentioned the bridge at gazebo, and what is the timeline for that? That feels like that's been kind of pending for years. Is there any other insight that we have on that?
Open-ended in the sense that we don't have a firm timeline. We were recently told that it was being considered for the coming year's budget, but I think that it's not clear yet that that's actually going to happen. And it ties into other issues, such as what actually happens to that trail on the North Bank. And, it's kind of an interesting space back in there. But it's not clear just exactly how it's going to get used. If you were to take a look at it from the Parks District, I think they would just as soon be shut of it, that they would just as soon give it up. But it's unlikely that that's going to happen, and therefore, at some point, they're going to have to deal with the infrastructure, the bridge. They're going to have to deal with the reality of probably some additional repairs on the North Bank. And so on. So, but as to a definitive timeline, absolutely not.
I thank you for being the squeaky wheel on this, which I think is probably what needs to happen.
Yeah, it's been helpful for us to be able to establish kind of an ongoing communication channel.
Yeah, and I'll add that part of that communication has been that we do have another project from the Downtown Creeks plan that is just adjacent to that bridge. And so we've planted the seed that when they start working on the bridge, that maybe we can they can do some improvements up at the trail level that will help us finish that project going down to the creek there.
Thank you.
Great, is that it? Okay, good.
Yeah, thanks, and thank you for all the great work that you're doing. I've got another timeline question also. This is on the West Reach project. A lot's been accomplished. I mean, securing at least a commitment of funding, and fingers crossed that it materializes, is really important. Any sense of what the timeline on that effort would be? I'm not going to ask you for a month and date by any means, but I'm just kind of curious what the sense is on that.
It's a good question. Mike Moran is here, I think.
So I think the earliest that would go to construction is the summer of '27.
I think the important thing right now is to move ahead with the planning that we need to do before we can start that. So, I really was pushing Tim to get everything ready so that we can, the city can hire this design firm and really get the plans nailed down.
Great, thank you. Great.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation and for all of your work on behalf of the Creeks. Sure, an amazing natural feature that we all love in the city. Thank you also for establishing some connection with East Bay Regional Park District to try to continue advocacy to work on that creek bank and bridge. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, do we have, go ahead.
I just want to come back again on this because I remember participating in the meeting in which we had our prior East Bay Regional Park District representative there along with the chief engineer. And basically this was the summer this construction season, they have a late construction season, September, October. This was the season they were going to do the bridge. So we're at least 2 years behind schedule on this whole thing. So it's disconcerting to hear this because so everybody's aware. To me, the bridge, getting a replacement bridge, that's good, but it's a functional bridge. What's really important is that trail, because that's cutting off access from that neighborhood to Mount Diablo Boulevard. I mean, that's just a critical connection that we have to restore. So if you want to bring this back to the council, I think you should, because this is something we just, if you need us to help out on it, we'd be happy to do it.
Absolutely, we can be the heavy for sure. And get you some help. All right, any public comment?
Yes, Mayor Kandel. Paul Bettelheim?
we press the microphone? Yeah, Mike, you got that?
Good evening, Paul Bettelheim. I'm here from Lumber to Sunrise Rotary. And first of all, I just want to reinforce what an amazing committee you have working for the city. So when I say we, the Rotary Club, first became involved with the creek restoration thanks to Narup. I called her one day and asked her if there were projects that needed to be done, and she gave me a list and kind of went through the list and scratched them off and ended up with the creek restoration. And a group of us attended the meeting. It was an amazing meeting, and it's been nothing but amazing since then. Such a great group of people to work with. I think what Rotary brings to this project is we bring volunteers, we bring expertise. I cannot tell you the amount of expertise that exists in my club. If you ever wonder where old Chevron employees go to die, it's Loma Linda Sunrise Rotary. But before they pass on, they have all these talents that they share, and share them they do. And for me, it's such a pleasure working with them. In terms of financing, we just received a $10,000 grant from our district. We received $5,000 from outside funding, and I believe $12,000 from the club that is available for this project. And it's very possible that we will be involved in the West Breach aspect. I think it's important to say that we're very respectful of the park and the limitations, the nature of the park. Mary Jo is very good, and Ron have been very good at keeping those parameters. We're very respectful of the neighborhood and the centennial oak tree, which is an amazing, is that the tree on the city symbol? If not, it should be. Anyway.
That was your 3 minutes, and so just wrap it up. Please wrap it up.
That's it?
Go ahead and finish. Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Perfect timing.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Any questions? No, and thank you. I mean, wow, what you're doing for our creeks is tremendous. Very appreciated.
No additional speakers.
Great. Well, thank you. Any other comments? No. Again, thank you for your report and your progress. Good luck. All right, we will move on to the consent calendar. And I want to pull item 12E, the Measure H oversight. Does anybody else want to pull anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Pull 12A, the minutes from August 11. 12A1.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything, are any members of the public that want to pull a consent item?
I have no requests, Mayor Kendall.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
So moved. To withhold item A1 and E from the consent calendar, otherwise approve all others.
Great.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now we go on to old business and staff reports. Jenny Rosen and the Arts Committee. Let's get you a chair and a microphone and. Will you turn the mic?
Sorry about that.
So much.
So, let's see. There we go. So some of you may remember about 18 months ago approving some budget for 4 murals to be painted in the downtown core. Today, I'm here to ask, to recommend that you approve the first of those 4 murals, which the Lafayette Public Art Committee is very excited about. Since that approval, we've been very busy. The first thing we did was retained ABG Art Group as consultants for the project. Sorrel is here representing them. They have been helping us for a good 18 months now, I guess. During that time, we surveyed candidate wall locations and talked to building owners. This was really the biggest chunk of time. We were new at it. We had to survey walls and come up with a list and then prioritize that list. And then the most daunting part, of course, was convincing a wall owner to be the first wall in the program. But we did that. We found a candidate wall and owner. It's the west-facing wall of Zara's Boutique on Mount Diablo Boulevard. So a large wall, pretty prominent position. So we're very excited about that. With the support of ABG, we put out a call for artists and selected from a short list of those artists. We put together a short list of artists based on the theme that we selected, which was floral, or botanic, I think, to be more general. And then with a short list of artists, we went and engaged the community with a public workshop to gain public input on both the artist and the style of the mural to do. And from that point, we then selected the artist, Rachel Pearls, who's a Lafayette native, and then went through the design process, which was also a big learning process for us. And Sorrel and his team were instrumental in kind of helping us guide us through that. And then finally, we've been putting in place the necessary contracts between the city and ABG and the property owner, and then between ABG and the artist. So as you can see, the mural features a poppy, a particular kind of poppy, the Matelia, I think it's called. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a California native, bold white with golden centers. This image is representational only. The actual final mural will be much more painterly than this.
Much more what?
Painterly. This is more photographic, more photorealistic.
Okay, thank you.
It will be much more, it's a painting, it's a
Yes,
mural, and it
sure.
will look
Thank you.
look more like that than it will look like this. And based on approval, we hope the artist can begin the work by the end of the month, weather permitting.
Great.
Any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, thank you. This is really fabulous design. Will it be hand painted?
Yes.
Wow. Any other questions? So is the shape of the wall like this? No, it's not. It's more square, Zara's Boutique.
This is actually a photograph of the wall
Oh,
with then a rendering
that
on it.
big.
So there are, as you can see, there are a few kind of baubles in the wall, especially on the left-hand side, about
Right.
halfway up. There's also a bit of a relief there, so she'll actually be painting across the face nearer to Mount Diablo and then wrapping into a small inset and then across the rest of the wall. So
Great.
some of the design back and forth was on how to do the design to work with those little baubles in the surface.
I would never have guessed it was that big of a wall. That's great. Thank you.
It's big,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any other questions? All right, do you have any public comment?
Mayor Candell, we have no public comments on this item.
All right, so any thoughts? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge all the hard work that's gone into this. I mean, it's easy to be up here and look at that and say, wow, that's really cool. But I mean, this is just like maybe, I gather, the tip of the iceberg relative to everything that's gone into this effort. And I mean, I love the idea of livening up the community with beauty, and that is what you're working towards here. So I think it's a great asset to have, and I really want to thank you all for the work that's gone on to make this a reality. And, yeah, looking forward to seeing it done.
Great. Oh, Joanne?
Mayor Kendall, there's a bit of a delay for the members that.
Oh, okay,
attend
sure.
Via Zoom, and I have a hand raised by Mary Ann Hoising.
Okay, please bring her in.
May I allow her to speak? Okay. Mary Ann, you're on. Mary Ann, please unmute yourself. I'll keep working with Mary Ann. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Okay. Vice Mayor.
Well, all the comment that we got at the Public Art Committee meetings were positive. Everyone seems to be happy with it here, so I have to wonder, where did we go wrong? This is a public art project. No. Facetious, obviously. Yes, there's been an incredible amount of work that's gone into this. And again, the Public Art Committee is another one of the committees where everyone on the committee works hard and has a job. So special thank you to the mural subcommittee who's been working on this for the last year and a half. A big thank you to Sorrel and ABG Group. If you ever need a recommendation for another city that's interested, just let us know. They've been fantastic to work with. They've guided us through the process. I think we have a model now that's going to work. This is the first mural. Looking forward to going, once this mural is installed, to knocking on the door of the owners of the other walls there and seeing what we can do. But this is tremendous. The whole process has been great. Just to follow up on your question, the portfolio for this artist, the type of work that she does, really lends itself to these particular flowers. I think when she paints them, the Matilia flower is a crinkly type of flower. She's done a lot of work with dahlias and peonies. It's really going to show up great. She's also a color specialist. There's going to be, I think we're leaving it to her as to what the shade of blue is going to be in the background. And I think that's the right thing to do. So this is just very exciting. Thank you to Julie Dudum, owner representative, for making the wall available. That's tremendous. And look forward to what Rachel Pearls is going to do for us. So thanks to all of you.
I'd also just like to acknowledge Carl. At the early part of this process, Carl and I actually walked the entire length of Lafayette doing an inventory of every available wall. So he has a pretty big stake in this as well, and we appreciate it as the liaison to the Public Art Committee.
Yeah, no, I can't really duplicate what everybody said, but I think I want to just call out what this whole section of Mount Diablo right here, just thinking from the business perspective, has been a bit dead, lately. And really the realization kind of started with the installation of the mural next to Uncle Hughes, and now is kind of capstone with this, or ended with this mural on both sides. And now that entire section of downtown is filled with vibrant businesses, right? And so now you have the murals on both sides of that large building. So no, I think it really shows the vibrancy of downtown Lafayette, and I'm looking forward to more.
That's great. And I don't know if you're aware that they are muralists. There is some legislation going through that may not require them to go through, if you read this resolution and everything you had to do legally to even get them to do a mural, it's big. This was a lot of work, if you read the whole staff report. So I appreciate everything. Hopefully the process will be easier for you the next mural, right? That would be the hope.
That's our hope.
Appreciate that. This is stunning. I actually did not realize this was more of the actual shape of the wall, and now it's even better. Yes, so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
So do we need to make a motion or anything, or we have to approve everything? Yes, we do. Okay. approve the design by Rachel Pearl's Lafayette Downtown Mural Program.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Yeah, unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One little quibble. I realize this is blue and gold. We're looking for cardinal and white.
No, we're not. Blue and gold's perfect.
All right, I think
Perfect.
out of order there, Mr.
I didn't know where you went to school, but now I do.
Yeah. Okay, so items from consent, we've got 12A1. That was the minutes. And so Stella, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there might be a typo correction on page 12, under item, or section 7B, 707-municipal exemptions. In the third line, it references would be subject to SB 79. I think, this is about SB 707, so is that a typo?
Correct. The heading should have said SB 79, municipal exemptions. I think that's a good catch. So the heading is the typo, yeah.
All right, so we have to vote on that, right? Do you have any public comment?
No commenters?
Okay, so do I have a motion?
Motion to amend the minutes?
Yeah, item
As
12,
described?
12A, yeah, amendment.
Is it 12A? 12A1, as described.
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. All right, and then 12 E. So both Carl and I kind of came at this, do we need, if we've got an oversight committee, do we need liaisons? Because we'd have to assign council members to be liaisons. In addition, who is conducting the interviews? And so those were two questions that were raised. And so we would like to have the liaisons be a subset of our finance committee, which is the mayor and the vice mayor. And so we were hoping that that would be okay to add into this ordinance. And then the mayor and vice mayor will also be the liaisons, but we want to make sure that they don't participate because we want this to be an independent committee. So I'm not sure how to word that. And Mala, maybe there's some help on making sure that this committee remains, even though they have liaisons, we're not there to be, contributing like maybe we would.
Do you want us to bring back that language and incorporate it?
Is that, Noop, is that okay, or do we have to do this tonight because of?
We've already advertised, go ahead. You could advertise for the positions, and we could just bring this back on consent with the edits, but you could still continue with the advert.
Okay, if that's okay with everybody, that would be probably the right thing to do to make sure we get the wording right on that.
So does that mean the mayor and vice mayor will be doing the interviews then? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be a part of the, since finance base, the budget subcommittee will be the liaisons. And then next year they'll change, right? Right, so that'll be kind of neat. Everybody will get to be part of that, which is always important. Okay, so do we have a motion, or do you have any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, so do you have a motion to make those amendments and bring it back on consent?
I'm happy to, go ahead.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great, thank you. Right, so next. Council and commission reports. Does anybody have anything to report?
I have a couple.
Okay, go ahead.
Just to report that I met with the BART director for our area, Matt Rinn, with Councilmember McCormick, as we are liaisons. It was a good discussion about the state of BART, what they're up to. Also met with Assembly Member Bauer Cahan's field rep to get acquainted with her office and how it works with municipalities. and participated in a chamber coffee, which was a lot of fun. Nice to meet some new folks, even though it was on Zoom. And last attended a Recycle Smart orientation as well as tour of the Mount Diablo Resource Recovery Transfer Station, Recycling and Reuse Warehouse. And I just have to say, I was really impressed. The Resource Recovery Warehouse is really remarkable. It's where all of the things that you put out on your recycle and reuse day go, your periodic one. It's so organized. It's all put into this warehouse that's not even actually that big, maybe like this room or so. And they coordinate with nonprofits to come and do kind of shopping days. And I've been able to support a lot of needs in the community in that way. And it seems like it's a revolving door. When we were there, there was a truck that had been there in the morning and unloaded, and it was all getting sorted, and another truck was coming in that afternoon as well. So it seems like just a really great recycling and reuse operation.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you. I want to touch on 3 items. The first is the Emergency Preparedness Commission met this morning. A highlight was Deputy Chief Bachman, who presented at council maybe 6 months ago, had a rather extensive conversation with the commission, sort of updating them on what ConFire is doing in the way of fire safety and fire preparedness. Of note, they're updating their fire code. They're required to do that by, I gather, January 1. So we may be seeing something from ConFire to adapt our code to theirs. But I also talked to him afterwards a bit where I thought it'd be helpful to have him come in and talk about that, but also lessons learned, to the extent we have learned them, on the Palisades, Altadena fires. Because I think when he was here before, I think that it had happened, but they were still digesting what had happened. I think it'd be good to get a handle on what do we know now that we didn't know then. So that was one item. The other is that there's really tremendous progress that's happening on the Firewise front in this community. Stephanie Bontemps has really kind of grabbed it with help from staff, Greg Wolf in particular. There's a really cool map that she's got that's not ready quite for prime time, but I think at an upcoming meeting, I think it'd be helpful to have a presentation from the commission and on Firewise, because we're sort of becoming, I think in Contra Costa County, the greatest number of Firewise communities in Lafayette relative to even Orinda or Moraga.
Oh,
you
great.
combine them, they have more, but it's really taken off here. It's really dramatic. So I kind of think it'd be worthwhile getting that out, and they'll have a booth at the, or be at a booth at the Art and Wine Festival. So there might be some more action on that front. So that was the first one. The second is I couldn't help but notice in the East Bay Times, there's an article, I think this past weekend, on the city of Hayward, which has experienced some significant budget issues. And don't want to brag on Hayward by any means, because every community has its different issues, but it just circles back to me that, again, to thank the voters for approving Measure H, which has given us such breathing room in this community relative to what many of our fellow communities are dealing with. I think they may have gotten out over their skis there in terms of maybe over-aggressive budgeting assumptions. I really do appreciate how conservative staff is here and making projections of revenues. I think that was something that caught Hayward, and they also maybe made some commitments that got them out further along than they probably should have been. I think the sort of fiscal prudence that I've seen in Lafayette really, really goes a long way. So I'm looking forward to the Measure H committee as they get going, so we continue in this track of being prudent and positive at the same time. And then one final note, I may have flagged this at the last meeting, but I did want to circle back that the road work and the public safety work that's being done by the city is really remarkable to me. I drive by Spring Hill Elementary every single day. That pathway that was built is really was a first-class job. I walked along it myself. You could see now where you have families accessing that other parking lot, so it's somewhat mitigated, all the backup on Spring Hill Road. But I complimented staff and Mike Moran earlier about the quality of the work that was done. Really terrific. I love infrastructure, and when it's done right, it's a beautiful thing. So thank you.
Great.
Okay, I can't believe my oversight from the Public Art Committee meeting. This project would not have been done without Jenny Rosen. She was just incredible. So I should have thanked her because she was involved, obviously, from the very beginning, moving the process along. It was a very complicated process with a lot of moving parts. She had a lot of people to deal with, and we wouldn't be where we are today if it weren't for Jenny. So I apologize for not recognizing her earlier. And then I have a question.
Yes.
When will we get the schedule for the Art and Wine Festival and our booth times?
I believe Suzanne Erla will be sharing that with you.
Great, thank you. Anything else? So last week, Stella and I were at the city schools meeting, and no big surprise, the crossing guards came up, and we're talking about it, and we're trying to steer it in the direction more of how do we have a long-term solution for this, and if that is maybe not having as many crossing guards. We are kind of an outlier in the amount of crossing guards we have in our city compared to other cities. I think we have the same amount of crossing guards as all of Walnut Creek, for example, right? And so that was like, okay, so maybe we can think about real solutions for some of those situations that is, maybe a flashing beacon, maybe it's some other solution than a crossing guard. And hopefully try to cut down our costs, because it is something that we do share. And Tracy last week at the mayor's meeting was so great to share that, the city of Lafayette we've always partnered with the schools on our crossing guards, but it got to the point where they were asking for more and more and more, and it's hard to turn them down, right? But they know where they wanted to be, and that's when the transfer of the management went over to the schools as well. So they want to transfer the management and all the payments back to the city, and so so far we have not voted in favor of that, and so we're trying to think of other ways to work through this problem where we're not in the situation where the city's doing this, but then they just keep asking, and it's just hard not to. So anyways, a more tolerable situation moving forward. We also had a really good presentation on e-bikes, and Brent Stevens, they've instituted an entire registration program. So any child that brings in an e-bike to the school has to register it. And that's when they verify it's the right kind, it's the legal kinds, and the parents have they know what they're allowed to bring in or not allowed to bring in. And so he has done a great job at the middle school, and that's where the bulk of the problem is. And then we also found out that the state regulations, this was from Racial Center, on e-bikes, not thinking they're gonna pass this year. And so all those thoughts that the state might get their arms around this may not come out, and so it may come back to us, right? I'm just kind of prepping people that this may become a local issue that we want to attack. That was it. And then also at the mayor's meeting, I had a really good talk with, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name, the president right now, from El Cerrito, Gabe, and about the redistricting vote is coming before us. And it's like, and I thought maybe a mayor's meeting, we can get somebody to present us the facts, and then we can spread them all out to the city, all the cities. And there's not really a source for that, You can't go to the legislators because they can't be advocating for it. You have to go to the campaigns, I guess. And so I'm trying to think of how we get information about this, just the facts, right, out to our residents, and so they can understand it better, because it is a big thing, that's facing our voters, and I don't know what that is. And so if anybody can think of a way where we can come up with a vetted set of FAQs or whatever on this that we could disseminate to our residents, I would totally appreciate it. All right, so that was all I had. All right, so now off to SB. Neither Jim or I talked about SB 79 during our updates, because that's basically all we've been working on. But Jim, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Kendall. So a lot has happened since our last council conversation about SB 79, which was on August 11th. and it feels it was really more like 3 months ago. Since then, the bill was amended multiple times, and two key amendments, one of which finally addressed the issue of fire safety with respect to very high fire severity zones, but really more significantly for Lafayette, the key amendment was that the Tier 3 counties, which is the non-urban counties, were dropped from the bill. And there's a distinction in the bill where if there are more than 15 rail stations, then you're an urban county, you're subject to the bill. Before then, if you were in this Tier 3 category, that is less than that, there are aspects of the bill that addressed what planning considerations around rail stops. That's all gone. So in effect, Lafayette's out of this bill, as is the rest of Contra Costa. And what's interesting is that the Cal YIMBY folks on their website indicated there are 8 counties that are now subject to the bill. And those are LA, Orange, San Francisco, Alameda, Santa Clara, San Mateo, Sacramento, and San Diego. All other counties are out of the confines of SB 79. So that's a really significant change from where we were a month or so ago. And I thought it'd be helpful to sort of highlight the work that went into this. And of course, there was our council voted opposition back in April. We sent a letter to the legislature back in June. We talked about this. The mayor and I, our city manager, and Casey Elliott from our lobbyist firm Townsend talked to a number of legislators, including our Senator Grayson and Assemblymember Avi Lafarias, who's in the Assembly District next to ours. Our mayor talked to Rebecca Bauer-Cahan and her staff about the bill. So there's a lot of conversations going on with the legislature. And in that process, we felt that we needed to come up with an approach that was thoughtful, logical, and addressed Lafayette's key issues, which are really relating to fire safety. Because the bill didn't make any acknowledgement of the risks that pertain to Lafayette, where you've got to get people out, if in the case of a wildfire, out of 1 or 2 roads with areas that include high fire severity zones. So we proffered language that kind of addressed that, which became part of a conversation on the bill. At the behest of Senator Grayson, our city manager, the Orinda city manager, and I met with representatives from Cal YIMBY, one of the backers of the bill. We had a member of Inclusive Lafayette there, and a consultant who was involved in the crafting of the bill to present our case, just to sort of make clear that what works maybe in Los Angeles or San Francisco doesn't necessarily work here. There were conversations the mayor and I had with our supervisor, Candace Anderson. She was in a break from the county board in Hawaii, and she set up a Zoom call for us so we could have a conversation with her. And I'll say that Supervisor Anderson was on it. Within a week, there was a letter from the county and Confire expressing opposition to the bill. So we had a number of individuals who are really involved in the effort. And I do want to note that the county released a letter today withdrawing their opposition because of the changes to the bill. So that's the latest news on this. And I really want to give a lot of credit to our local legislators. And I'll start with Senator Tim Grayson, who at the outset said that he thought that we would be out of the scope of the bill. The mayor and I had a call with him along with our city manager, and he said, look, I'm working on things. I really can't get into the details, but I think you're going to be pleased with the end result. And he was right. So kudos to Senator Grayson for really stepping up for our community and for Orinda too, as we shared the same concerns. Our Assembly member, Rebecca Bauer-Cahan, was very much on topic on this bill with her opposition to it, the way it was crafted. And in our adjoining Assembly District, Anna Marie Avila Farias was a very strong opponent of the bill as well, the way it was crafted. I think they understood the particulars of Lafayette and Orinda in that the fire safety issues just needed to be addressed. And it was a flaw in the bill to sort of put that much density in areas where people would need to evacuate on short notice. And I think everyone got that. I had a conversation with one of the bill advocates after that main amendment went through, and he said, look, I understood your argument. They were concerned that by including that language in the bill, it maybe would open up other things in other legislation. And he said, we just it may be a good idea, but it would need a lot more thought than we can do in this time frame. So that, I think, was part of maybe the background story as to how Tier 3 got dropped. That's my guess on this. So a lot happened. I've got a couple of follow-up items I want to talk about, but before I do that, I'd like to pass back to the mayor, as you have some observations too, I think, or some thoughts.
Right. This was an amazing effort by our legislators, and Tim Grayson really was the one who pulled the heavy on this one. The only thing left is that there was some new wording in there about you really can't go out of a Tier 3 unless you, like, some of this criteria is, you know, like, some of these transit stops are in some of your regional plans. So we do have an additional 2 transit stops coming in. It still keeps us under the 15.
Right.
It keeps us at 15. So we're right at the limit. And so I was pushing back on Casey. It's like, hey, what if MTC has a plan where they've got like 10 more stations for us? Does that all of a sudden go there? And so that was my one. Is Casey on the call? Okay, so maybe Casey, that's part of the questions. You don't have to answer it right now. But that was one of my last concerns. And hopefully the other language they put in there makes that go away, right? That one last concern. But otherwise, wow, it's great. And so what Jim is going to advocate for, or is going to advocate for, is...
Yeah, so what I'd like, there are 2 things, one of which is, and this is in part at a request from our senator, which is just to put the word out about the update on the bill, which I think is really fair, to let people know that, in effect, Lafayette is outside of SB 79, and just put the word out. I also think in that press release, we really want to thank our senator and our assembly members for stepping up for us. And that would be, I think, just a mark of appreciation for their leadership in helping this effort that we've done. So I think that's something that I really would like to see us do and get that out the door as soon as possible. And the second is kind of following the county's lead on this, but our concerns have been dealt with. And I kind of think that to sort of, I think, acknowledge or respect the support that we got from our legislators, I would recommend that we drop our opposition to the bill. I'm not saying we support it, but we drop opposition. And, in effect, they'll vote on how they think is best for the broader California housing conversation. But I think Lafayette's issues have been addressed in large part thanks to their efforts. So that would be my second recommendation. And we can have a conversation about that and see if that's something the council wants to do.
Great. Okay, so I guess we'll go to questions first, and then take public comment, and then come back and talk about it.
Okay, well, first, thank you. Thank you to Casey. I mean, great job, great result. It's fantastic. I'll come back to this later, but the question I have, I think the amendment that you suggested was very, very valuable about eliminating from SB 79 areas, very high fire severity areas that have evacuation routes. There must be in LA, in San Diego, in Alameda County, areas that have that same problem. I mean, this comes to the discussion of what do we do, withdraw opposition. I mean, it seems like that's still a very valuable, I know that would have been extremely valuable for us, but there's got to be other parts of the state that makes a lot of sense for too.
That's true. We were trying to find out all these other areas. And I guess one of the biggest things is just trying to get the new CAL FIRE maps for other areas. It's apparently really difficult to get those in order for us to even do that calculation. And so they haven't really they used to be on a website and everybody could go get everybody's maps. And it's not really like that right now, not yet. And so I think that was the biggest pushback for the YIMBY folks, was like, this could affect so much, and we don't know how much that's affecting, right?
And I'll add to that, I think that's right. It was sort of like an unknown. I did have a conversation with Cal YIMBY, and they thought that there might be an area in Los Angeles around Hollywood, and in the that time where the Altadena and the Palisades were going up, there was a fire in one of the canyons, and there was evacuation orders in the Hollywood area. I know that because my son lived there. There might be some spots in San Diego. They weren't sure up beyond that. Again, I think the concept is actually a really good one. And, but I think that people needed to understand better what the full implications were. We couldn't get enough data to make our own assessment. And again, I guess I'll be a little bit selfish here. Our focus is really on Lafayette and our colleagues in Orinda. And I think that that may be something that comes up in a subsequent discussion about where you put housing, I think. But we don't know the answer to that just yet.
I just have a simple question, but I do want to come back for the discussion because I'll say my thank yous for that. But so I had the exact same thought about the transit counts.
Right.
And so I guess, can you clarify a little bit on that whole thing? Somehow, are we protected if I don't understand how we're protected if MTC somehow declares we have, or they want
We
to
have
build
13 now.
I thought we have 15. This is where it's confusing. We have 12 BART and 3 Amtrak, I thought. That was the count that I have in my head. And so I thought we were 15.
Yeah,
and we don't have anything to miss.
This is where Casey Elliott might be helpful. I think it's 11 BART. And
I've just allowed Casey Elliott to speak.
let's get him.
So if you would unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening, Casey Elliott with Townsend Public Affairs. The question related to, so backing up, with Tier 1 and Tier 2 being the only 2 tiers that are in the bill now, both of those tiers are predicated on a stop being within an urban transit county. Urban transit county is defined in the bill as a county with more than 15 passenger rail stations. Adding to the confusion, passenger rail stations is not defined within the bill. But if you look at passenger rail stations within the county, you effectively have I'm going to say 11 BART stations. You have the Richmond Transit Center, which is BART and Amtrak. And then you have a station in Martinez. Right now you have you have 2 additional passenger rail stations that are planned for that are not yet online, that being in Oakley. There's plans for a Amtrak rail station that should be it's supposed to break ground in 2026, but TBD. And then Hercules Hub is a longer term project vision, which will combine Amtrak and ferry service. So when those 2 come on, then the county will be at 15 once those, again, not planned for, but constructed and operating. So then 79 would kick in on the 16th station, is effectively the way that legislation is written. And so for the question as it relates to MTC and planning, the definition for urban rail station is functioning rail station. So if something is planned, if it's in a regional transportation infrastructure plan or something, that is not enough to trigger the urban transit county definition. And as Mayor Kandel alluded to, the most recent set of amendments over the weekend further clarified that transit stop definition is a transit stop within an urban county definition. So if MTC were to plan or do something like that, you would already have to meet the urban county transit definition. So to the question of could Contra Costa eventually at some point become an urban transit county? Yes, it could. Any county could. But they'd have to meet that 16 passenger rail stations within the county. And at this point, by our count, there's 13 with 2 planned for to come online within some period of time within the county. But again, that would still leave the county at 15.
I guess the one thing we have to keep an eye on, because we hate to have a surprise, because we all want more transit. I mean, that's where it's like we're kind of stuck in this kind of like at cross purposes, which, I think is a theme in a lot of these different areas. But anyway, thank you, Casey.
Good. So I spent a lot of time this weekend looking at these details about definitions, and I think the bill is still a bit ambiguous because in one particular area, it's, I think, not defined whether you can count Richmond Amtrak and Richmond BART together. And we're really going to be waiting on MTC, who will be providing the mapping of this set of stations. I think the bill describes that each metropolitan planning organization will create the map of designated TOD stops and zones within the region by tier in accordance with these standards, which would have a rebuttable presumption of validity. And so I guess I'll believe it when I see the map, whether Contra Costa is an urban transit county or not.
So do you have any idea, Kia, or anybody, when MTC is going to be looking at that map? They'd have to pass the bill first, and then they would create the map. Interesting.
It sounds like we have some buffer, I think, right, anyway, right? Because even if, because if
No,
we're,
no.
because they're not functioning yet, we have some buffer in years. That if-
Years, but
if-
not.
Not for, all right, so I think what we'd have to do is advocate then, if in fact the map comes out and it turns out we are much closer to 15 than we think we are, we may need to advocate to get an amendment, a further kind of amendment to SB
Well, we
79.
think we're at 15, right? That's what.
No, with the planned, with the two that are coming online over the next 2 to 5 to 7 years, right? So I'm saying, so if it is clarifying it has to be a functioning rail station, that we've got some time with Oakley and Hercules, because those are not functioning.
There is one small detail, that there's existing Antioch. So Oakley is going to replace Antioch.
Oh,
So Hercules is the new one that's
Okay.
planned.
yeah,
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
so,
So, I mean, we'll just have to see how it's
I know,
interpreted. You can have
I think we'll see what it's
expansive or
like. We'll
restricted.
still be under 15 no matter what, because it won't be functioning, but we'll know if we need to then push for some other thing.
Well, will we be able to, though?
Right.
Well, you can always have another bill that amends a bill, right? You can
Yeah.
always do that.
Yeah, and one point of clarification, they heard this today on the assembly floor?
No.
Or they did not?
I
It
don't
was
think so.
scheduled for one, but did they?
My understanding is that it's up for a vote, but it hasn't been voted on yet, and Casey Elliott can clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. The bill is on the assembly floor right now. It is eligible for consideration. It was not taken up today. The legislature adjourns their session for the year sometime around midnight, probably a little after on Friday, and there'll be daily sessions until then. So it wasn't heard today in the assembly, but there's a very good chance it'll come up on the floor tomorrow or Wednesday. If it's successful at that point, then it will need to go back to the Senate for a final vote before the adjournment on Friday night.
And Casey, to be fair, I'm sorry, Jim, sorry. So, and can amendments still can be introduced on the floor, I'm assuming, of the Assembly or the Senate, right?
For amendments, the legislature now operates under the 72-hour rule that was approved by voters several years ago. So if a bill is amended tomorrow by, let's say, 8 p.m., then it could probably still happen by Friday. But anything that's not amended tomorrow cannot be amended and considered this year.
Got it. Thank you.
I think what I would reference is that just from the interactions we've had with our senator and assembly members, that there is like a legislative intent here that to in effect keep us out. That was like the first comment that Senator Grayson made to us when we met with him back in June. And he followed through on that. And, you could even see it in like the Cal YIMBY information that they list the 8 counties. These are the larger counties in California, and every other county is out. So I kind of think that there's an ambiguity. I've kind of got faith here, I think, with Senator Grayson and our assembly members to sort of cure that. I'm getting a skeptical look from my colleagues here. But I kind of think that in part because of the way they stepped up for us in this little sausage-making enterprise, which is this bill, I kind of think that they get that and would follow through. So, and I think there's been so many changes to this piece of legislation throughout, and there is ambiguity in it in parts. And it's ambitious by Senator Wiener, to say the least. But yeah, I think at this point, I don't, Casey, you may have a comment on this, but my sense is there's probably not any more amendments. They're either going to vote on what they got now with the amendments they took on Friday, or else this thing is just going to go away. That's my hunch. And Casey might be able to clarify that.
Yeah, I'm not expecting any amendments on this bill tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right, do we have any public comment?
We do, Mayor Candell. We have a speaker in the Don Tatson Community Hall, Elias Fretwell. And if any members in our Zoom audience would like to speak, please raise your hand now.
Hi. Hi, my name is Elias Fretwell. I'm a senior at Ocalanis. Originally, I was going to come up here in support of SB 79. I did not know that it was amended to remove Contra Costa. So I'm a little disappointed to hear that. I think, especially as the younger generation of Lafayette, I'm not seeing what I would like to see in terms of development. So Lafayette's population has only grown by 25% in the last 50 years, and across the whole county, the population has doubled. And the county has also built double the amount of housing per resident than we have. So just from my perspective, I don't think Lafayette is doing our part to sort of keep up with housing and build housing that's absolutely in demand. You can tell, you go around, you see a for sale sign, and pretty quickly it becomes a sale pending sign. So people definitely want to move here. We're just unfortunately not doing building places for them to move to. So I know that obviously we talked about like fire safety. So I guess in the future, for me, I'm a little less concerned considering that at least with this specific bill, all the housing would be near the BART station, which is right by the freeway. So I think evacuating would be pretty quick. And then Councilmember McCormick, you also talked about earlier, like making downtown more vibrant. I think more housing would do that just by having more people, especially since it would all be here. So people would be walking, wouldn't be vehicle traffic, it would all be walking traffic, which I think we all would like to see more of. And also on a less like practical statistics side, I am sure a lot of you came to Lafayette to start a family. And I don't have much hope, I guess, that people like me or my classmates are going to be able to do that in the future because there's just not enough housing. So I don't think that I'll be able to like come back to Lafayette and be able to do the same things that my parents did, maybe some of you did. So I know you were talking about dropping opposition. I would ask you to do that. And also in the future, just consider that Lafayette does need the housing, regardless of what you think of like the housing crisis, even just as an opportunity for Lafayette to continue to be the place where you come for your like kids to play in the hills and go to the schools. I just ask that you like keep that in the back of your mind, because I'm sure there will be more discussions and bills on zoning later. Thank you.
Well, perfect timing. Thank you. Sure.
So thank you very much for coming. Is this okay if I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Just to kind of like, so thank you very much for being engaged and for supporting what you believe in. I think it's tremendous. I wish we had more Ocalani students here. I'm just kind of curious, do you know about the housing element that the city was recently certified, we recently got certified by the state? We are building 2,000, we have a zone and have committed to building almost 2,000 units in downtown and up and down Mount Diablo. So we are definitely, so I want to just kind of, so that is a big deal actually. And that I think is something when we talk about the opposition, it's really just because we are working so hard to make sure that our housing element that has been approved by the state gets fulfilled, which means we bring more housing units at all levels into Lafayette. We have almost 2,000 coming in over the next, that we've committed to getting in over the next 8 years. So we definitely want housing. So I think we were just concerned again about the impact of fire safety and just a kind of a more of a very simplistic view where I think, but we want to get people coming in, living downtown, I totally agree. Let's walk, let's not drive. But if you have a chance to look at it, or I'd love to talk about it with you later, but thank you very much for your engagement. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And very much appreciate that you're here. Any other public comment? All right, so we're back. How do you want to do this?
Well, there's two parts, one of which is I think it's important for us to get something out to residents to let them know that of the changes to the bill. I think that's important to get out. And I also in that want to sort of acknowledge the support and leadership of our legislators in that process as well. So that's the first piece that we should do in my mind, no matter what. The second would be sort of follow the lead of the county and given the changes to the bill, drop opposition. And in fact, our legislators will kind of vote as they want to vote. But, at least I kind of want to acknowledge that the big issues that I think we were looking at with this bill have been addressed. And yeah, there may be some cleanup down the line, but I kind of think that I want us to make sure we maintain the full support of our local legislators in that effort and kind of reciprocate for the I think, tremendous support that they gave to us. So that's like the second part of like why I would want to just go with a letter dropping opposition.
So, go ahead.
I think first, absolutely. I think we need, I have one of the few times I've engaged social media on this on behalf of the work that we're doing against SB 79. And I do think there is still some and I think the question here, which was a great question, is also, SB 79's got a lot more attention than the housing element and all this work we did there. So I completely agree we need to give an update because we actually asked for people to contact their legislators. But I think we should remind people that we are not anti-housing, and I think this is probably the most pro-housing council we've ever had, right? But it's more like, this is actually what is happening. Yes, we're not, SB 79, we're not affected, but we are putting thousands of units, mostly downtown, to make sure that we ensure that people can live here. So I think that's important. Anyway, I'll stop there. That's my number one. I have a question on or a comment number two, but maybe if anybody else says anything on number one, we can just take that first.
Okay, all right, let's just stick to number one about the report. Do you have any?
Yeah, I have a question. Was that a special email or social media blast that went out that asked residents to write to legislators about SB 79?
It would be the blast, the same thing that we did the last time around.
Okay, so you're...
And I think Suzanne's also working on a new story, but I want to confirm.
So I guess what we would do would be to send, since we blasted everybody on that, we'd send a blast out tomorrow if possible, letting people know
the changes
and
thanking them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd support that.
Just have a clarification. So the request was for them to exclude the very high and high fire zones within evacuation zones as well. But the bill didn't really do that, is that right?
It did not.
Correct.
Okay.
It
so-
just eliminated us completely.
But with respect to the legislatures acting on the fire aspect, they only, I think, addressed very high fire hazard severity zones. So, so it's just a point of clarification that they did something, but it really didn't pertain to us, if we were even in the urban transit county.
Okay. No, I would totally support sending out that letter and making it fulfill these other issues that we're talking about. All right, now, dropping opposition.
So I guess I need to understand, because I do have concerns. Again, I think the conversation about one of my big concerns, obviously the fire safety issue, but the fact that it kind of overlapped with, but did not intersect the housing element was one of my main concerns, right? And the fact that HCD stated they were overworked with the housing element, and basically we're just going to let SB 79 regulations just kind of go orthogonal to it, and we were going to have to supply both. It seems to me that's still an issue in the 6 or 7 or 8 remaining counties. And so I guess I just understand, is it kind of your understanding that our legislators would like us to drop opposition? I guess I don't understand, because it's still feeling like some of the fundamental flaws that we saw, I mean, it's wonderful we are not impacted, but the fundamental flaws we saw are still there. I don't know, I don't understand that.
Follow-up question, do we know if any legislators or groups in these other 8 counties are raising this issue?
Yeah, there's groups in LA for sure.
Yeah, Casey might have a better handle on that. This Los Angeles City Council came out and opposed the bill.
And county.
Council, thank you, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I've been honestly kind of struck that among a lot of cities, they're not that dialed in on this. I kind of felt like with Lafayette, we were like way out in front of a lot of other communities.
I will say, this is part of my thank you, but I'll just do it now, because I did speak to, because you were doing your great work, but I did speak to, council members in Walnut Creek and Concord, trying to say, like, our hair's on fire on this thing. And they're like, we're already high zoned around our transit stations. We don't really, it's a non-issue. So I think, the leadership that Lafayette showed, and especially Mayor, Councilor Cervantes, City Manager, plus, of course, what Arinda did as well. I think it was like, you really punched above our weight class, or whatever the right metaphor is, to get it done, because they didn't, there was just no interest in engaging with it, because, and maybe that's the issue with some of these other counties, I don't really know. But I really I just think we really, really moved the needle on this. So thank you very much.
Yeah. And maybe if Casey is still with us, the question about what other counties or communities were doing might be kind of helpful. I know the league was opposed and still is. So.
Yes, as you noted, Cal Cities, as far as I am aware, is maintaining their opposition on this measure. I know other cities throughout the state are really kind of having the exact same conversations that you guys are having. I think that dropping opposition, maintaining opposition. So I think I don't know that there's going to be a discernible pattern quite yet.
How many of us have the amendments on Friday, have a meeting to even vote on dropping opposition by the time the assembly votes on it, right? And so we are probably unique, in terms of cities that might have time to act on this, right?
Yes.
So
I'm just kind of curious, your view is are you proposing that we do drop it?
Yeah, that would be my feeling, because I think, there's you could say the big picture issue the league has raised, you've raised with respect to, this is sort of like another layer of like planning that needs to be done on top of an existing housing element and the whole RENA cycle. I totally get that. And I think that we made an argument that was centered around, fire safety evacuation risk, which in the end didn't get picked up in the bill, but we got the other objective, which is where it's out of the bill altogether. And I think I may be coming at this from a bit of a parochial argument, which is that Lafayette's out of this in Contra Costa. And so I feel like we took care of the community here. There's a bigger policy issue that if the league is fighting that, I'd say that's great. But I guess I'm more focused on like the Lafayette situation. That's kind of where I'm coming from in this.
Okay, let me step back here. I think the Lafayette interest, we escaped this time, thanks to you. You not escaped a housing obligation, because we do have a lot of housing in the general plan. But we know this isn't going to be the only time we're going to be faced with legislation that's going to uniquely impact us because of our geographic situation. So I would not want to give up my concern or our concern about fire safety and just Moraga, Orinda, Lafayette. It's different. I know there are communities in Los Angeles County and San Diego County, Alameda County that have that concern. I don't want to, well, I'm not going to use the word. I think we need to be consistent. Yes, we escaped, that's great. But I think we need to be consistent in fighting for fire safety, particularly when we're going to be the biggest victims of anything that overlooks fire safety in the future. So I think if we dropped opposition and then something else comes along and we say, oh, now we're opposing it, and somebody would say, well, wait a minute, you didn't help us. When SB 79 was coming along, you supported, well, didn't support it, but you dropped opposition. I mean, given our really, unusual exposure to fire danger, I think we need to preserve our position.
May I?
Yes.
I truly apologize for interrupting this discussion, but I just wanted to raise 2 points. One, Contra Costa's letter does not thank the legislators from exempting the county. Rather, they thank the legislature for recognizing our particular wildfire hazard area. So I think the way they've crafted it really focuses on that, not that, oh, we're out of it. The second is, I think Lafayette led, in a way, our efforts to change this bill locally. If we continue to oppose, and next year we have another bill or 2 bills in the years past, why would people be inclined to make amendments if we continue to oppose when we got what we wanted? I think we are there to cooperate with those who don't agree with us necessarily, but we've actually sat across the table from them and started discussing the fact that we're really a pro-housing city. We want to build housing, but these are our very specific concerns. So just a couple of thoughts on how...
if we drop our opposition, but keep strong on the wildfire safety.
Well,
somehow.
yeah, my counter position on that is that there are communities throughout in these 8 counties who are facing the same thing.
Correct.
So I can see we could say thank you for recognizing our fire issues. Well, I can't go the next step of dropping opposition to it. It's I still look at the bill itself, and it boggles my mind that the legislature could go ahead and pass a bill that puts communities in danger, that have evacuation problems. And what we're hearing, the response is, well, we'll deal with it later, or it's too complicated to look in right now. Well, that's a critical problem. If you don't deal with that problem, why are you passing the legislation? I mean, that's my simplistic view of it.
Thoughts?
Well, I mean, again, they didn't respond on the request for the high fire hazard severity zones.
Right.
So I would say that they didn't really.
Well, no, they did on the very high, right? They did on the high, though, right? You're saying?
No, they did not. There's no.
It was very high.
Just very right. So they did respond on the very high. I mean, they did that.
we
They
don't-
exempted historic districts, the very high fire zone.
But Lafayette doesn't have
Flood zones.
any very high in
I know.
the.
It
in the
didn't affect
bubble.
us.
And
This
so
comes
what was
back
in-
to.
What was in the bubble were high
Right.
and moderate, and that was the request to legislators.
And to exempt the evacuation zones, not just the particular areas in the very high fire zones, because we know that our evacuation zones are affected by this dense housing. Even though it's next to a freeway, we did an EIR, that the people north of the freeway, right now, they can evacuate in 30 minutes. If we built just 700 units on the BART lots themselves, they would stay in their driveways an extra hour. So they'd be an hour and a half evacuating north of the freeway. And that was an EIR firm. This was an official report that we did as part of our housing element, which is why we chose not to include that housing up there because of this risk. And there's no way to mitigate that. So that was 700 units. If you do the math on SB 79, we're close to 25,000 units. And that will impact our evacuation routes, which is why we were here arguing so hard for that. And so that risk is still there for urban cities in situations like that. And so that's Carl's point. I understand that. this is a political decision right now to me. It's like, what do we think is the best thing for Lafayette long-term, working with our legislators on items like this, where they really came to bat for us? And that's Nirup's too. And so I'm not very good at this stuff. I'm a terrible politician, but if, I don't know, Casey, what do you think? Should we drop our opposition? Is that something that we should look at as a valid thing that would help Lafayette moving forward?
I think that I think that having a seat at the table in future bills and future legislation and having our concerns over fire safety, I think we have a better chance of getting a seat at the table with the people that traditionally run these bills, the YIMBYs, the Bay Area councils, those folks, by removing our opposition and moving to a neutral position. That I think that it shows that there's an acknowledgement of negotiation and back and forth. And while it is very correct that the exact language that we were proposing was not accepted, I've had conversations. I know Councilmember Cervantes has had conversations and others. I think a lot of that was just not the proponents not saying this isn't a good idea, but more of a we don't have a full grasp of what this would do statewide in other areas. So I don't think that they shut it down for the lack of it being a bad idea. I think that they could just more easily accommodate the community as well as other communities throughout the state by removing that tier 3 language.
Okay. All right, any other?
I guess I look at this and this whole process as a relatively new member on the council, not the newest anymore. It's been enlightening in that it's important for us to play a long game in the context of the way state does its planning, which is often very top-down. And I really came to appreciate having legislators who we could sit down with, make an argument, listen to us, and then go to bat for us, with Senator Grayson and our 2 assembly members. I think to steal Councilmember McCormick's comment, we did punch above our weight. And part of this is because I think we were paying attention, and I'll credit our city manager and our legislative consultant for that as well. But I just view it in the long run, it's important for us to really be engaged with the powers that be in Sacramento and try to have a seat at the table. And to the point where parties listen to us because they think we're being, fair and reasonable. So that's part of where I'm coming at. It struck me that the county pretty quickly dropped its opposition as well with the changes to the bill. And they did phrase it in the way of, we appreciate the officer's responsiveness in amending the bill to address fire safety concerns. That they didn't, there was a nudge in that direction with the bill with very high fire. It wasn't as far as I would have liked to have seen, frankly. But, I think it was kind of struck me that they moved in that direction. So, that's kind of where I'm coming from in this. And I get it. There's kind of a split on the council on this, I think, in terms of the perspective shared. But
Well, can I just ask a question about, I have this trepidation about what the ultimate map looks like and what it declares about Contra Costa as a urban transit county or not. Let's just say hypothetically, it is given to us and it says you are an urban transit county. And we've dropped opposition at this point. Do you think that we would get support from our legislators if we were to want to have a conversation about that map? I know there's a lot of hypotheticals here, but.
I could try to respond. It is a hypothetical here, but I'll go back to the first conversation we had with Senator Grayson, who said, "Look, I thought you guys were out of this." And in fact, he was going to work to make sure of that. I'm kind of putting faith in the people who represent us in Sacramento because of the way they stepped up for us in this whole cycle. So. Again, we're arguing a hypothetical on that one, but, maybe I'm a trusting individual by nature, but I think I really respect how our legislators stepped up for us, and I really want to make sure that they listen to us going forward.
Do you think that one of the reasons that Tier 3 was exempted was because of the fire concern? Think carefully, because this,
Yeah, right. Casey, Casey probably would know more. Casey, do you think that that really was any part of that argument, or was it dropped for other reasons?
There were throughout the negotiations, there were a number of jurisdictions throughout the state that were asking for various local accommodations, including us, including related to fire. There were others, as you noted, related to historic districts, various other things. I think that when the proponents looked at all of the requests in the totality, that their goal was much easier achieved by taking out Tier 3 and then cleaning that up. But I do know from conversations that I've had with the proponents since then that they were very impressed with the fire language. They were not thinking of it in terms of evacuation routes in the fire severity zones like that. I do think that our conversations led directly to the very high severity language included in the alternative plan, which, as noted, doesn't impact the city. But I don't think that language would have surfaced had the city not had had our conversations. So I do think that they were listening and trying to react to the fire piece. Like I said, it's not perfect. It's definitely not, and it's not necessarily workable for the city under the incoming maps. But I do not believe that language would be in the bill if it wasn't for the city's efforts.
And I did have a conversation with one of the backers of the bill, one of the proponents, and because I was curious, once Tier 3 was dropped, it said like, well, what about our language? Because I kind of liked it. And the comment was, in the context of Lafayette, he felt that we made a convincing argument about our particular issues. But there was a reluctance at the legislative leadership level to create a new precedent at this point with statewide implications. They just couldn't get their hands around what that meant. And there's uncertainty as to how that would play out. He said, in the end, it was simpler to exempt Lafayette. So I kind of think that, I don't know if this was, not knowing all the background behind the bill, if this was became a wedge that kind of broke off a piece in the bill. I'm sure there are many other parties involved with that, but I think it just is simpler to sort of drop this out, us out of it.
okay, so I would support withdrawing our opposition if in whatever communication we do that, we thank the legislators, thank the legislature for recognizing the unique fire situation facing Orinda, I would mention Orinda, and Lafayette. And I would state it as if that's why we're out.
Which is kind of what the county, I guess, kind of mirroring a little bit the county's
Yeah.
kind of, which I thought the county's letter was quite good.
Yeah, and then, if they, well, I can rise above principle and support this.
Actually, I will say, no, I think the mayor's point, which I think it's politics. I think politics at state level, it's a messy proposition. And I will say, I guess I am convinced by your talking about the long game, and we're trying to, I think, with Townsend and what we're doing with Townsend and bringing together, we want to have a bigger voice in Sacramento. And if this helps us have a bigger voice in all of things going forward, I'm convinced I will support your position.
That as long as we key it to the fact that they recognize the fire danger.
Okay.
I think that the fire safety message is one where you can't bang the drum enough.
Yeah, no, because we're going to need it again.
Yeah, we're going to need it again.
It's our
We need it
top.
again. So this is in line with that
Yeah.
view of the issue.
Right.
Yeah, no, all right.
So one final thought, maybe it's, Lyle, tell me if it's not topic for discussion or at least for bringing up, but, so the bill does talk about, it references the Housing Accountability Act and the health and safety exclusions, and it occurs to me that we we probably want to start looking at objective standards for health and safety in the event that we do have development. So in other words, like perhaps revisiting the thresholds of regional or thresholds of regional significance. It's not
or
what
that
it
was
is.
the term.
Thresholds of evacuation
Yeah.
significance.
Sure, yeah. All right.
All right.
So do we need a motion on this? Yes, I'm sure we do. So maybe make it a two-part motion?
Sure, I'll take an attempt at this.
Yeah.
Two-part motion that the council authorizes the release of issuance of a press release to the community, updating the community with respect to changes to SB 79 and the removal of Lafayette from the scope of the bill, and with appreciation for the support of our legislators. That's the first part. The second part would be to issue a letter of removing opposition to the bill, highlighting the significance of addressing fire safety issues, and as a consideration for planning in the future.
Right.
That kind of.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All right, all in favor? Wait, oh, did you?
Do we need public comment?
We already had it.
Oh.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, all right. Well, thank you, guys. Woof, excellent discussion. Thank you. All right, we're going to go on to Councilmembers McCormick and Cervantes, appointing members to the Youth Commission.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll go ahead and kick off with the nomination by, I think, Councilmember Cervantes. So anyways, we had 2 rounds of interviews. We had, unlike many commissions, the Youth Commission is designed to turn over a lot because when they graduate out, we have to backfill. And it's a large commission, but it constantly moves. And so we had 6 openings and we had 8 applicants. And we did 2 rounds of interviews, and I'll just say a phenomenally impressive group of young people. A couple highlights that I had is just, at least one, there's also 2 levels. There are commissioners and there's associate commissioners that don't vote, but they participate in everything else, including doing all the work that the Youth Commission does around the Haunted House and the Tri-Cities Dance and everything. And we saw a really great diversity of ages. We had some middle school, we had some high school, weren't all from Acalanes. We had other high schools as well, but they were all Lafayette residents. And several were younger siblings of people whose older siblings were also on the commission. So it also shows, I think, that it was great. So I'm pleased that we discussed with the liaisons, the rec director and assistant director that were there, that we are going to nominate the following 6 commissioners: Grace Galacchio, Lucia Gia Lorenzo, Franklin Roca, Marley O, Matt Ween, and Soraya Spitzer. And as associate commissioners, Tatum Duff and Caden Parkin.
Great. Any discussion or questions? Do I have any public comment?
No public comment?
Okay, so do I have a motion?
Actually,
Okay, go ahead.
before I move, I also want to participate in the interviews as well. I have to say that when you see these young people, the existing commissioners and the ones who are interviewed, it really makes you optimistic about where this country can go. I mean, there are some just terrific young people who knows, in 10, 20, 30, or maybe 50 years, can make a huge contribution to the communities they reside in, hopefully Lafayette, but to the broader country and I think the world as well. So it left me feeling upbeat.
Including one of the leaders.
And the leaders too.
Who sat through the whole thing, and it was just great.
Great, so I have a motion?
You
already moved that.
I made the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Sounds like a lot of work. A lot of interviews. All right, next one, written communication from Christine Lee resigning from the Creeks Committee. Oh, Christine, thank you so much for your service. She's just been such a great person helping on a lot of different commissions. So thank you, Christine. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment?
Okay, great. So any other? Oops, I got,
I'll add in, Chris Lee, not so much the Creeks Commission, but I remember working with GPAC Chair and leading the initial effort of that committee to get it off the ground and sort of confront the housing element. She was such a steady voice of reason, spent a lot of time on the spreadsheets along with a couple other folks, President Company included here, and was just a terrific leader in that effort. So her contribution to this community, I think, is just really stands out in so many different ways. So thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Cervantes, for that. I agree completely, and I just want to really thank Chris for her dedication to the creeks and for caring for them.
definitely. Thank you. All right, so an email from Scott Minden resigning from the Environmental Task Force. So thank him for his service. Does anybody want to say anything? Oh.
Well, I had the pleasure of spending 3 hours with Scott in the booth at Earth Day a couple of years ago. He very dedicated, and I understand, he's a lawyer, things come up. Hope he'll come back someday to the Environmental Task Force.
Great. Any public comments?
No public comment.
Great, thank you again, Scott, for your service here. And now, last one is designate of a voting delegate for the California Annual Conference, October 8th through 10th. Is this something that you talk about, or do I talk? We have to assign a voting delegate. I am going. I don't know if anybody else is going this year.
No.
I'm also the league appointee, so I would gladly take on voting delegate.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
At the meeting. Great, so I will make a motion that I will be the voting delegate at the league meeting. And public comment?
No public comment?
Okay. And you'll second the motion?
I'll second the motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And that's it, and we will adjourn.